This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Say it with me. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing this evening in our live recording, for those of you that are live, of episode 165 of the Auburn Experience podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. I am alive. I am somewhat well. I've made it back. And for the first time probably in the show, the person who is not sick, the co-host that's not sick, is Austin Scott tonight. Welcome back, Austin.
Most not sick from a health standpoint.
Well,
anything other topics might be different, but happy to be back with you. Good to see you alive and well, and happy to be back with all our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, sorry about last week, folks. Whatever hit me hard, and I tried very difficult. I tried. See, the mind's not all the way back yet. I tried very much to make an appearance on last Sunday night, but not only would I have sounded much worse than I do right now, but it probably wouldn't have been entertaining. And yes, for those of you that did in our Discord give me crap and say that I don't trust Austin, I have 100% trust Austin, but I also didn't want to throw that on him at the last minute since I was timing everything down. Austin is fully capable of managing this show and putting on a much better show than I ever could. So
I don't know about fully capable. It would have been a numbers getter for sure. The ratings would have been nice.
Well, as I've heard from some people recent on certain other contents, that I'm the reason people don't show up. So I guess that's, we'll get into that tonight, but I'm told quite frequently that I'm the reason people don't show up, which is, is really great what you want to hear when on one of your most sick weeks ever. But anyway, here we are, episode 165. I'm going to be honest with you folks. This is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge show. We are in our normal set of two main topics. We're going to talk about baseball, softball, the Diamond sports updates. It's our first main topic. And then we will do some wrap up / postseason basketball as we record this on a Sunday night. Some breaking news for that. And a lot of you are talking about it in the chat right now. We will get there, and we're gathering all of that to talk about it. But we do have some things in Auburn potpourri that we have gathered and are at least somewhat informed to talk about. So we'll get there in just a little bit of a minute here. But Austin, I gotta tell you, we'll talk about the basketball postseason stuff here in a second. Auburn's obviously not in the March Madness tournament this year. I know that's disappointing to everybody, but what you should be excited about is our March Madness Bracket Challenge. It is back and is brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. They're putting up the prize, that $50 gift card that you've come to know so well from them over the last couple of years. And so you can participate with us on the ESPN Tournament Challenge. It's such a long name. It's like the ESPN Tournament Challenge Bracket Contest, whatever you want to call it.
It's just crazy.
It's just crazy. We have a group this year. It is open to the public. You can access that now. It is available for everybody. Those that are some of our more loyal or the people that contribute us, financially each month, they got early access to that. So they're already in there. But we'd love for you to participate and just have fun with us, even though Auburn is not part of it this year. I know it's a little bit disappointing, but hey, listen, it's a good time if you can show that you know how to predict a bracket. The bracket contest is up for you guys right now. We'll have links in our description. They're all over our social media, or you can just go look up the group name, E2C Network, the Auburn Experience 2026. It'll be in there and ready to go. What I want to know from Austin is, would you like to make a prediction for how far you will go in the bracket contest this year?
Like where I'll end up, where I'll land.
Yeah, like how are you going to be formidable this year? Or are you going to be out of it like you were last year?
Excuse me? I think, well, depending on which one, I think I did pretty good last year because
I think you did actually.
I think in the E2C one, I usually put my Auburn one as in Auburn winning.
I would pour one out, but it kind of would mess up the.
Yeah, well, this year I can't do that. But so last year, obviously, I did pretty good. But even if I didn't do that one, I think I picked Florida. I usually do two, one with Auburn and one with maybe take the orange and blue glasses off just a little bit. But
So will you do 2 this year?
Yeah. I'll probably loosen it up a good bit, but I think for our group we only put 1 in, right?
There's only 1 allowed in. I'm a bit of purist, so here, since you brought it
Sure.
up, I'm going to say it. I think you should only have 1 bracket. I'm sorry. I think I think if you can't settle on 1 selection, then it means much less. You got to make a pick and stick to it, folks.
Well, and I do think that to an extent, I agree with that because I do have 1 I go to for real. I also think when Auburn made the tournament for the first time in forever, back in 18.
Yeah.
I will never ever not relish the fact to just like put Auburn all the way at the end now and at least see the logo pop up. So I will always do that. And then of course I have a bracket for the Twins on my account as well. So, but I'll always put 1 into the E2C network. I can't win anyway. I've been told that before because I think I've done pretty well.
That's not true. That's not true.
So
I will say that myself, my wife, who has won the bracket contest, at least as the winner of it, but she did not. She graciously did not accept the prize. I don't see any conflict of interest for anybody else that volunteers with E2C Network stuff. So you could win the prize, sir. I'm just throwing it out there.
We'll see. We'll see how down on my luck I am. But I think I'll be pretty good this year. I maybe not having Auburn in it will loosen me up a little bit. That sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. We'll see if I tend to get real into the Cinderellas when I start doing that.
Listen, if you will go by a couple rules. Do you remember my number 1 rule in all of March Madness stuff?
Your number 1 rule? Is that a 5-12 matchup?
Well, no, but there's a certain name that you should never count out in March Madness. Have you never heard me say this?
No, I know. We talked about it because we took, well, we didn't take them out, but we would have taken them out.
We did take Tom Izzo out in March Madness. You remember?
This past year?
This last go around. Do you not remember us beating Michigan State?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
we played them both. I was thinking of the other one.
It's been a rough season, hasn't it, buddy? You forgot.
That was a long time ago.
Say, I told y'all this show was going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge one, but anyway,
yeah, we did. No, you're right. They got a good. It's a deep region for Izzo. So we'll see. We'll talk about. We'll go over our brackets.
We'll go over brackets at some point. Listen, just wanted to put it out there. It's open. Please join up and hang out with us, and it's always fun. We have a good time. Make a funny bracket name too, because I feel like not enough people have fun with that too. If you want to just I don't know, make fun of the season or whatever it was this year for Auburn, I guess go ahead and do that too.
Sure.
Did I miss anything else this past week while I was in the infirmary from you, or is it did you finally have like a restful week without having to hear from me all the time?
Well, I did have a restful week. For that reason and others, it was spring break on campus.
Yes.
So it was quite relaxed. There was great parking all week for those of us that continued to attend work. The university does not close for spring break. There are lots still happening. I realized this week that during spring break, this will be fun to tie together with you, that during spring break, it's a lot like Disney World on Auburn's campus.
I don't know why you would tie that together.
Who knows? Because Monday morning, when I went into work, there were maintenance and facilities people everywhere.
Yeah.
Fixing everything. Everything was getting touched up. I walked down the student center to see a friend of mine, and there were ladders everywhere, just little light bulb switches. It was like everyone has to never know they were here. The students come back. It's like, oh, everything, nothing happened.
Yes, the magic just takes place without
the magic takes place, and that's what you hear about Disney. Overnight, they go to work, and that's what I saw from spring break. So shout out to our facilities people and maintenance at Auburn University. I have several friends over there, and they do a phenomenal job. But I saw their hard work in public display this week.
Could we be honest? This is their March Madness because they don't have to deal with as much traffic and students and all that kind of stuff.
It was nice.
They come out and they're like, "Hey, listen, we can get so much done this week, and it's just our March." And
they did.
There you go. Well, I have no doubt that the staff there does great work, or the groups of staffs, because I know it's more than just one staff unit, does great work. But I would be interested to see that. I like seeing the inner workings of things, and so you can definitely see that sometimes when the mice go. What's the phrase? The mice go away to play, or something like that. Is that still part of my sickness?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm just going to chalk that up to I'm still hallucinating from this past week.
Sure.
There we go. What a great start to the show. All right, listen, let's get going before I get us off the rails. Any more Auburn potpourri stuff? Certainly, we would be remiss if we didn't start off by acknowledging for a lot of people, this will be a rejuvenating week, not just because the students are coming back and thus the athletes, but Auburn football practice will officially begin for the spring. Now, they've been doing workouts, things like that. Can you believe that it's already spring practice time, Auburn? It got here quick.
It did get here quick, and I think we went over the dates a while back, but it came quick, and that just means we're one step closer to A-Day, which will be an official event this year again, and all the fun that brings. So bring it on, man. I'm ready. It'd be fun to do some things that we can talk about and get some talking points back in. I'm sure there'll be no controversies over anything that comes from spring practice.
Well, and there will be no overarching narratives built that will last until we get to fall practice. I mean, that never happened. Nobody ever forms any big opinions about what we were talking about practice. I am seriously excited though, because there is a need for something a little bit fresh, especially in the football space, and certainly that brings it. And there's going to be excitement, there's going to be hype, things like that, and we have, as you said, to look forward to a traditional, like good old nostalgia feeling spring game where there's going to be an actual game. The band's going to be there. I'm just going to go ahead and assume cheerleaders, all that kind of stuff. Everything's going to be out there. So you have like this nice countdown that's starting here in the spring practice. And we'll certainly, if anything of value comes from the things that are observed and shared throughout social media and online, we'll talk about them here. But everybody get hyped. You can finally start looking forward to some football stuff and start building all those glorious predictions and opinions that you need to have at this point, I guess. Now, listen, national championships are still finding their way to Auburn, and that is by way of our track and field program. The indoor track and field season is officially complete, hosted once again out in Fayetteville. My point is they keep winning it out there, the whole dang thing. I think you shouldn't be able to host it. I'm just going to throw that out there, to be honest. I think that's a little bit shady. At some point, you got to change it up and go somewhere else. I'm sure they do. But that's not the point here. The point is to talk about two individual Auburn national champions for indoor season, which should get you really excited for the outdoor season, because hopefully they'll be able to at least replicate what they just did here. Two runners for Auburn, one that you'll know very, very well, Jacoby Tharp, who was up for the Bowerman Award, essentially the Heisman there, and I'm sure he will be high in the running for that. You see what I did there?
I did.
High in the running. Didn't even think about that one, and it just happened. So I'll just run with it. But Jacoby Tharp with a individual national title in his event, and then I always butcher his first name, so I'm going to do what I believe is a good pronouncement on his. I think Ajayi on his second name also won an individual national title. So look, I know football's down, folks. I know basketball's down. I know some of you struggle in the spring to get really excited about things, but there are great things happening for Auburn. Two more natties, Auburn, to add to the I guess what are we looking for? The trophy case.
Yeah. No, not. And those are two mainstays for Auburn track and field, but you've heard us talk about them. They are excellent athletes and represent Auburn very well. And so congratulations to both of them. And hopefully that success continues into outdoor. And I'm still really pulling for a team national championship in outdoor track and field for Auburn this year. And they've come so close in the last 2 years. So hopefully this is a good momentum to go into that season. And maybe that's what we're talking about here in a couple months.
And keep in mind, for indoor season, the team came in fourth. So that gives you a good look. Just because it's not as easy as saying, well, one's indoor and one's outdoor. There's different events, different things that take place there. So there's going to be changes to this, but that should help you feel really excited for how Auburn's going to be able to score towards a potential competing for a national title with having guys already winning their events in indoor season. And you couple that with, we saw SEC championships and the throws, and on the women's side of things, too, like it all kind of comes together. And listen, it's a different beast, the outdoor season, but get really excited for it, because there are plenty of things in the spring that you should be excited for. Speaking of, I feel like we might as well just have every single week the Jackson Coyven segment, because he just not only is he winning individual titles and the team winning the events that they go to, he and the team are just like giving teams a spot and saying, here, you believe the whole week of competition that you're going to win it, and then we're just going to come from behind and take the whole dang thing. So here we are again. This is just becoming boring at this point. It's not boring. Jackson Coyven has won the Hyatt, and we got another SEC Golfer of the Week honor. It's just becoming mundane at this point. He does it every single week, and the team does it every single week. I think we're up to 4 individual titles on the year for him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That should put him like at 8 or something like that overall, because he already broke the record.
It's hard to keep up, right? It's just impossible to keep up with all this success. And, you know, it seems like, and I think that I'm okay saying this, it seems like Coach Kleinert and Jackson Coyven and this whole team continue to take that individual success and continue to take what the team is doing in these tournaments leading up to the ones that matter in the end. And but I think that this team has definitely got a path to where they're on a mission for one thing, and that's to be at the top of the end. So we just hope that momentum continues. I don't really believe in a whole lot of this peaking too early in kind of sports, especially like golf, where it takes a collective of guys to all do well at the same time, and all do well individually when it's such an in game. So I think these guys are going to be able to use this to better their craft and show that they can, you know, they're facing some adversity, but they're able to come through and still be on top of the end and hope and agree. So congrats to all of them. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully it's another mundane segment next time, talking about Auburn golf and Jackson Coyven.
I'm going to go out here on a limb and ask for a prediction, Austin. I don't have the number of events they have left before we begin SEC championships and then NCAA regionals and then NCAA championships. But I'm just going to assume there's at least 3 more out there before that happens. And we still could count like SEC individual title. How many more wins will Jackson Coyven notch under his belt as an individual, not necessarily the team, before the season ends? He's already, I think, 4, if I'm not mistaken. How many more do you think he's going to get at this point?
But you can't tell me how many out of.
If I was prepared, if I had done,
let's say, well, I don't know, 18. Let's say 3 more. Let's say 3 more for a good 7. Perfect.
I really hope there's only 3 more, which means you're calling for him to win every single one left, which would be awesome.
It wouldn't surprise me. Well, is that counting the individual national champion?
That's fine. If you want to count that as well in that, that's fine. I can go with you. You're saying, because I could see him doing 1 more in the regular season, 1 more for the SEC title, and then another for maybe win the regional overall, and then
well, we definitely have more than that because that's in June.
Yeah, I know. So we got a ways to go, but I'm just saying you got high expectations for Jackson Coyven. I know he's
proved it.
He has. So
yeah.
So there you go, Jackson Coyven. We're on the record for you, man. 3 more individual titles is what we're expecting. I guess get to work. It's not like you've proven you can do it or anything like that. All right, I just want to do a little bit of celebrating before we leave this segment today. Those of you that know your Auburn history, know your Auburn people, will know the name, the Nun, Susan Nunley. She is synonymous with Auburn women's athletics, Auburn athletics, Auburn. Like, she has had her influence over
Camp
War Eagle, academics, all these things, student life, every aspect of Auburn that you could probably touch. The Nun has definitely been a great positive influence there. Currently, and probably most well known, other than Camp War Eagle, is her role as the PA announcer for the women's basketball games. And she just reached 50 years of doing that. That is an incredible milestone to be doing one thing, I know it's like act like it's something simple you do, but to do one role that for that long, that's absolutely awesome. And so I say this to give her recognition she deserves, but if you don't know the Nun, you better brush up on your Auburn history and your Auburn knowledge, because this is somebody that you definitely should know. And I'm just going to say right now, we need the statue. I need the statue.
I was about to ask you about that.
I took it from you, but yeah, listen, let's get a statue for the nun at this point.
I think she's well deserving for the impact she's had on just all Auburn, but especially Auburn women's athletics, from coaching to being an advocate to being a PA announcer of all things. There is not a Auburn athletics women's female statue. We've talked about ones that are certainly well deserving, and there's a long list of those.
Yes.
And I think she is certainly on that list, if not near the top of it. So 50 years is incredible. You cannot miss her if you attend an Auburn women's basketball game. She is there, and she is loud. And that's not just because she has a mic. So she is of Auburn. And it's so good to see her continue to be such an impact on campus and be such a force. And we hope that's for many, many more years to come.
Yeah, obviously we love having the nun around and having what she is meant to Auburn around. And so good recognition this week for her reaching 50 years. And that one thing that she does, I mean, I don't know where she gets her energy from, to be honest with you, because she's involved in everything at Auburn. So congrats to the nun. We love and appreciate you. That's going to do it for Auburn Potpourri. It's time to move on into our major topics this week. We're going to do a Diamonds Week update for Auburn baseball, Auburn softball. I love to just throw it Austin's way to start off. Would you like to do softball or baseball first, Austin?
Sorry, I was reading about ticket info.
Okay, for something we'll talk about in a minute.
I know. We will cover softball. Let's get her out of the way.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. So if you weren't aware, Auburn softball this week went to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is pretty dang good in softball, if you weren't aware of that. Now, Auburn has had some years where they've been a little bit more formidable with them, but as of late, they're still kind of in the second years of the coach's Malvo and trying to reestablish that. If I remember correctly, last year, I think we played them and it went about the same way. Auburn does get swept in this series, and I think sometimes if you just look at that on the surface, you're like, well, okay, that's really disappointing, but you know the context of it's Oklahoma, it's all that. But they were pretty competitive with them for at least the first two games at times and had leads going in, middle later of the game and just weren't able to hold on. Now, I'm going to read off the final scores. A lot of them are going to be discouraging by the end of it. Friday, they lost 5-13 in 6 innings. It was a much better game than that, though, before the run rule in the 6 innings. They lost 5-8 on day 2, which that's the one I believe that they had the lead for a long time in. And then on Sunday, they lost 2-14 and 5 and got run ruled. It's Oklahoma. It is what it is. And we didn't get to talk about them last week winning their first SEC series against Kentucky at home. So it's not like this is a bad trend right now or anything like that. It's just hey, it's Oklahoma, and you still got a ways to get up to their level at this point. So are you discouraged in any way by this or anything?
No, I mean, I think you would have loved to see one out of the three, right? I was at the gymnastics meet Friday, and they showed when Auburn hit the 3-run home run to take the lead on Friday night. And you think, well, okay, maybe they're going to make some noise up in Norman. And I got out later and I saw it was like, I think you just said 13-5. So, for what Auburn has done before in Norman or not done, and when you look and you go up there and you think maybe this is going to be a UCLA type of game, and they are able to, put some runs across the board. And I think Oklahoma has not done exactly what they've expected to do like previous years this year, but Auburn's, like you said, just not quite there, and they're building to hopefully be that one day. But I'm not surprised. I do wish they could have gotten one out of the three, just to build some momentum, but I'm not surprised. It's an elite power team.
Yeah, I was really hoping they could hold on in that game too, so that we could salvage one out of this, because I think if you do that, that's another one of those benchmarks that we talk about as a new coaching tenure gets into its second year. You want to start seeing them check off a little bit. And just because they didn't get the win here doesn't mean like this is a humongous, it is a failure because they lost the game, but not a humongous failure in the sense of people catastrophizing things. We'd never do that. But you got a series win against Kentucky. It is who it is with Oklahoma. You got plenty of other SEC series coming up soon where you can make that up. But I wasn't shocked when I saw the sweep. by the end of it. I was just
hopeful.
hoping it wasn't going to be that way. All right, well, let's get to a different sweep. Let's talk about baseball. They went up to Missouri and were in misery for a variety of ways because they had to be up there. I'm sure actually the weather was probably great, which you wouldn't know because of certain delays, because it made it seem like there was a lightning delay, but there wasn't. Things like that. We good with the headphones and all that stuff over there?
Yeah, I was trying to be funny and turn my lights out, but it didn't work.
I got what you were trying to do, but
I forgot I have a giant spotlight right here, and I was going to be. It would have been really funny if it went black in here, but it didn't.
Thank you for that.
It would have been really funny if it worked.
I wasn't going to acknowledge it, but I was like, I can't let this slide at this point.
It would have been golden, but I couldn't do it. It didn't work.
It would have lit up the room really well as you were,
yeah,
but much better than some other things on a Friday night. Okay, so we're alluding to a lot of things that we just need to talk about it. Auburn versus Missouri here. They do get the sweep. They get the wins, and this isn't a big surprise. You know, nobody really writes home about Missouri. No offense to the Tigers out there in baseball, at least currently. But they won 2-0 on the first game, despite some light issues.
I'd switch them out of this conference in a heartbeat. I just want to say that now.
That's a topic for another day, my friend. And I think they would too, given some of the things that transpired.
I can't stand them.
How can that
happen?
And
useless.
Their facilities are too. They won game 2, 4-3 in extra innings, so a little bit of fight, and then it just
because the sun was out.
The sun was out, yes. But hey, listen, they got an evening game in, doubleheader with some weather coming into town. 9-2, Auburn wins and finishes off the sweep. I do want to talk about what we keep alluding to, but can we at least acknowledge, given what Auburn is, thought of right now, being a consensus top 6 team, really a top 5, one ranking has them as 6. That's why we say top 6, and is living up to the hype right now. Missouri had every reason just to lay over and, just let this be worse looking than it was. For reasons, it was a 2-0 win in the first game and took us to extra innings. So you got to give some credit to them for not laying down here and just letting Auburn come in here and run all over us. With that being said, if you didn't know, they had a lighting delay, not a lightning delay. An SEC team struggled to keep their lights on for what I'm assuming surely they have evening games there other than Auburn and another evening SEC games. So how in 2020, in the year of our Lord, March 15th, 2026, how does an SEC team result in having a hour and a half delay because they couldn't get their lighting right outside? Austin, explain that one to me.
Well, I can't explain it to you. I don't know if anyone's explained to Missouri that in the Southeastern Conference, the baseball is a big deal. I don't know if they read that part of the terms and agreements when they were thrown into the SEC. We really only needed them to just buddy up with to come in with A&M, and so they're still here. And obviously whatever the 90-something million dollars that each conference member gets each year from the SEC, none of that goes to baseball at Missouri. So I hate to see that. Not only did they not have adequate facilities for a season and conference opener series, they've got the old lights with the halogens that take 28 years to come back on. And so I was floored.
But even still didn't come back onto their fullness to be able to safely, quote unquote, get the game going.
And I have family near Missouri I can't for the life of me fathom why in the world a conference member of the Southeastern Conference does not prioritize baseball like that. I don't have a fondness for Missouri in really any sports, and I don't think they fit in the Southeastern Conference. I have an easy person I'd switch them out for. I've talked about
Oklahoma
before.
State.
I'm Georgia Tech. I've said this so many times. I don't want any more West. Missouri. We've already proven we don't need to go that way. Missouri.
I'm just saying we could pair them with Oklahoma at this point.
Well, Sure, I see what you're saying. If we,
Okay.
it's another rival to keep going.
Sure.
I see what you're saying. I'd rather go this way, our way.
I agree.
But I don't know how that happens, and it's embarrassing, truly. And I hope that their fans and their athletic department's embarrassed by it because it's humiliating to see that happen for a Southeastern Conference baseball member. Now, if I remember right, they didn't win a conference game last year, so it's
Well, you
not
just came out and said it. I wasn't trying to like out them like that, but you go.
I'm
ahead.
outing them because they're trash. But it's not it's not surprising when you look at the investment they're getting in it that they're not successful in it. So I hope for the betterment of those players that either they're able to find some investment from the university or just transfer out. But good luck to them. I'm glad it starts with a series sweep for Auburn. The first time they've opened the conference with a sweep since like 2010, I think is what I read. Not surprising. I think Auburn should have expected to go up there and sweep Missouri with the level of talent in this team. Obviously, you should always want to take 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. A sweep is not always the expected thing. It's not expected a lot of the times, but you should always. That's what you should aim for. A sweep of that caliber of that team. I know Missouri had a great year. They played literally nobody and scored a whole bunch of runs against literally nobody. And so it was a hard dose of reality for the Missouri Tigers when the Auburn Tigers came to town. And I'm just glad they took care of business and put the lights out in Columbia.
Okay, you're going to work that in one more time.
It will not be the last time I talk about this.
The lights out joke was just overused this week. Here, look, you pointed it out. They had a great record coming in, and you look at their record, you can make your own assumptions about that. But part of the reason why, they struggled some more, even though they kept the games close, is because of Auburn's pitching. It is looking just so far through the first SEC series, through non-conference with some very challenging teams, especially very good. And we're talking about Marciano. We're talking about Sanders. We're talking about Petrovic. And it goes beyond those guys. But those starters right now are coming in and giving this team the room it needs, whether the offense is hot or not. And especially on start of the season where the offense wasn't so hot, and then slow going in this game. Now, you could blame the light situation in game 1 if you want to. You could blame being on the road, whatever, playing a doubleheader, all those situations. Austin, I'm floored right now with what we've seen from the starting pitchers thus far. So is this legit? Are we talking about one of the best starting 3 that we've had in quite some time?
It feels like it. I listened to a stat on the local sports call radio show this past week, and they went through the innings of walks from this rotation up and before this past weekend. And the 3 have combined for something like 65 innings, and they've walked 7 guys total. I know that it was a successful year last year, and so this is picking from 2 years ago. But 2 years ago, when it was just a very weird year, an outlier year, when some of you were losing your heads, an outlier year where Auburn pitchers couldn't throw strikes, and to hear that they've only walked 7 guys so far. I think that number probably went to I think each of them had 1 or 2 this series, but so somewhere around 10 in. I mean, Marciano would have had more innings if they could have gotten their crap together. But I think when you add, 20 more innings to that number, and then maybe 4 more walks, they're absolutely shoving it in the zone and playing lights out. So I love it. I think that I expected to see this rotation tinkered with more. I've said that before. I think Butch Thompson thought so too. But I'm gonna butcher it here. You don't break what you're fixed. What's the saying
My
here?
sickness is you don't fix it if it ain't broke.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, so that's what's happening here. And they're doing a great job. So I hope it continues. This week is a massive test. With Georgia Tech on Tuesday night, which makes for a fun night in Auburn, Alabama. Georgia Tech on Tuesday night in a top 5 matchup. We'll see if they stay. I think they lost 2 out of 3 to Clemson this weekend. And then Texas coming to town next weekend. We'll see how this pitching rotation really does against some really good talent, not like what was up in Missouri.
Sure. And I want to point this out too, and we are making some assumptions because as far as we know, there's not an official word, but there was a significant injury for Auburn, and that's a guy that's been coming in right away for these, even though the Stars have given great opportunities for this team with how they have started each of the games. Drew Whalen is one of those guys that we even talked about at some length on the last episode, I think, about how nice it's been to see him come in, whether Auburn was the few times they were losing after the starters were in or tied or something like that, and given some really quality long innings. And some even, I think, were considering potential starting time for him too at the beginning of the year. Based off what Butch said post game after the doubleheader, nothing official, he said, but just the language he was using, the energy around what he was saying did not feel positive. That's another reason why this is so encouraging, that these starters are doing so good and going so long into the games too, for a bullpen that may have just taken a hit. And you've got others too. Alvarez is the midweek guy, but he can be utilized on the weekends too.
I still have not seen Griffin Graves. He's close.
I keep forgetting that he's not there.
Griffin made the trip to Como. I'm glad he did, because we need another set of eyes probably to help our guys walk around, because you can't see anything up there. But Griffin Graves made the trip. He's a valuable piece. I'm very excited about it. We just need to get him back fully healthy.
Yeah, Jet Johnson as well did some strong work in this. I mean, and the list keeps going on and on and on this stuff. And look, we're just talking about the pitching right now. This wasn't the most outstanding week of batting that we had, but you got some of the guys that are normally doing their normal thing. Bub had some great plays. Chase had some great at bats as well. So listen, folks, get on the hype train while you can, because we'll find there's a big test this week. But Auburn baseball right now, it's looking in pretty really good. I know it's easy to after a Missouri and when they can't keep their lights on and all that kind of stuff. But hey, here's a great thing for Auburn fans. I know some of you may be upset about a few other sports. You could always be Missouri. Just remember that. Like, you could be the embarrassment of the SEC at this point.
There's just so many other better options. There's so many other better options, and maybe we'll talk about that this summer. But there's so much better options to have than Missouri.
What would Auburn fans prefer to replace with Missouri? And
can someone just give me a benefit? Like, what do they provide?
The Midwest. They reach into the Midwest, I guess.
No, don't need it. We're the Southeastern Conference.
Okay, just save it. Save your rant for another day. We'll get there.
Don't need another Tigers. Auburn, LSU are here. We don't need it.
If it even is a tiger at this point. Hey, why don't you?
Looks like a crackhead.
Why don't you work on fixing your Tiger's face and your lights at Missouri?
Yeah.
Just you got some things to work on if you want us to take you seriously in the SEC. That's all I'm saying.
Bring me the Rec Tech parades. Bring them to me.
All right, let's do some basketball talk now. Austin, you and I knew that this segment was going to go one of two ways. It was going to be a complete wrap up of the season for both the men's and women's, or we were going to get some pleasant news. You and I both were privy to pre-show that it was going to have some good news. Now, it's not the news that everybody wanted. Let's go ahead and acknowledge that. Auburn is making the NIT. We're going to talk about it. But let's start off with in year one for new head coach Stephen Pearl. They are unable to reach March Madness. They were one of the first four out. If you look at the way they listed the graphics on the CBS show, Auburn was the second team. So I think you could infer in the committee's mind they were the second team out. Oklahoma was the first team out. How are you processing this, Austin? I don't mean necessarily determine your feelings. You can share your feelings if you need to, but did they get it right? Should Auburn have been in and try to let's take our orange and blue glasses off as much as we can here? What do you think? Did the committee get it right? Should Auburn have been in the tournament?
Yeah, it's a valid question and was going to be an argument for a while. I think that, we all saw the things about how there were that many losses and no team has made the tournament with that many losses and things like that. But you look on the flip side and you see Auburn's strength of schedule, who they've won against, who they've played. I watched the selection show. I heard the committee chairman say that SMU was the last team in. And his argument was because it had better quality wins than Oklahoma or Auburn. That's a bunch of malarkey. And that's, like you said, I'm taking orange and blue glasses off. That's
a fair statement based off of metrics.
No,
what you just said, or saying it's
it's a bunch of malarkey. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Your statement of malarkey is 100% got metrics backing it up.
I was about to worry how sick you were.
I'm just a little bit,
but that makes zero sense at all. SMU beat North Carolina, Louisville, and A&M of the teams that are in. and Auburn beat 3 conference champions. And look, they lost to a lot of bad teams. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to Oklahoma. 2 teams that looked a lot better in the SEC tournament than they were given credit for. But Auburn lost to them. They lost to other teams they shouldn't have lost to. All in all, I didn't think Auburn would make it. We talked about, you and I talked about that in this week. You texted me and asked me that. We also talked in our Conquer Club. I did not think Auburn would get put in and make the NCAA tournament this year. I think that 16 losses is probably too big of a hurdle for a lot of the selection committee. And I can understand it. I don't vibe with the reasoning of the committee chair that's the reason Auburn wasn't kept in. I think if they'd just come out and said it's too many losses. Now, on the flip side of that, I do think you have other argument here that was kind of made in the college football playoff timeline, when it was thought that Texas might get in, is that, well, should Auburn have scheduled the people they did, or should they have just scheduled some teams they could beat up on, like other fringe tournament teams, and not had 16 losses, but not have played as strong of competition? I think this could certainly set a precedent for that. And it certainly, schedules are made in advance. So next year is going to be very difficult because it's a lot of flipping of this year, but schedules are made in advance. But I think Auburn will probably look at this and say, well, how much did we gain by going out to Arizona and getting absolutely smacked around? How much did we gain by playing Purdue and Indianapolis and getting smacked around? The players era was something they can't really control. They get chosen against who they play, but did the Houston game help them much in the long run? Those are all losses. So I don't think Auburn really was going to get in. It just didn't feel like that was ever really the way we were trending to me. I think they had an argument too, and I think they had an argument against. I can see both sides, but at the end of the day, here we are, and Auburn's the second team out.
I had no problems until they started making the strength of their wins argument. And I said, they're either lying or they're stupid. And so the problem is with that argument, if you're going to go that way, Auburn should have been in the tournament. Now, I think this was about setting precedents, which, as you said, they just set one that's not really good. Weaken your schedule, you can get in easier, at least your non-conference stuff. The other precedent they didn't want to set is no team below had more than 15 losses ever in the tournament, right? If I'm correct in that, that was one of the big things that was being floated out there. So I think that was more than anything what's going on. They didn't want to set the precedent of that, even though there was enough metrics and stuff to counteract that argument. Now, I also think that this is a fair statement. You can say in the same statement, Auburn had a strong enough resume to make the tournament. Auburn also didn't play well enough at the end of the year to warrant being in the tournament. Both of those things 100%. Can be true. We acknowledge that as Auburn fans. This team played like crap throughout February and some of March as well. I think there were signs it was starting to kind of switch back the other way. And I think if you look at the full context of the season, you could see where that would probably make Auburn a stronger candidate, given who they beat, who they competed against. But I don't necessarily think they got it wrong. I just don't like what was explained as the reasoning.
100%
that's
agree.
Where you sit at this. So maybe the question's not, did they get it right or wrong? You better just explain it better, whether or not, because Auburn didn't help itself. But at the same time, let's be clear on what the expectation is, because if you want us to go schedule, I know we struggled with them at the start of the season, but Bethune-Cookman, 5,000 times the rest of the non-conference, then we'll go right ahead and do that. But I hope that's not the case here. But anyway, I'm going on and on.
I don't think it will be, and I think Auburn will continue to push themselves and schedule hard competition. I do think when you have the Players Era tournament, am I saying that right? It's the Players Era.
You got it. Right? It's like I think it's like the Players Era Challenge, but it's the tournament. Let's just say
okay. It didn't sound right in my head, but with that, you get 3 games. You don't really get to pick who it is. Obviously, they ended up playing St. John's and Michigan. St. John's won their conference twice. Michigan is a 1 seed. Oregon was, didn't have the year I think they wanted to have, but
Stain Altman,
you end up playing. Hang on a second. No, they didn't play Duke. You played 3 of the 4 1 seeds, and a slew of conference champions.
And you beat one of them.
And so it's kind of like you beat, the one seeds.
The one
you beat
seeds,
one of them. And so I think it's a thing where you take the players there, and then maybe you just don't schedule as many of the tougher games in non-con. I think that could happen. I think you could see that, because I think this is a precedent that shows that if a bunch of them don't go your way, you might be more penalized than you would what you stand to gain from it. There's also the flip side of this, Kyle, is that, there's a couple times in the season where it's like, hey, if something goes a different way, like a buzzer beater, I don't know, or something, or.
Can I just point out that this is twice now Auburn has been given poor explanations about why a decision was made, and they can't really make it mesh all the way. One was about a game against Texas A&M, and this is the March Madness situation. So yes, this is when we say these statements, folks, the saying we're just having orange and blue glasses on, we acknowledge Auburn's responsibility on making this such a
100%.
difficult thing on the committee as well. But all of these statements are fair. They're part of the full context of everything. People like to focus on just one part of it because it strengthens their argument. You have to focus on the full context of everything. With that in mind, just kind of bringing it back to what we're talking about in this little part of the segment, I truly do hope Auburn does not move away from scheduling difficult opponents every year in non-conference, because it's fun. I know some of you didn't like getting beat up this year by the best of the best, even though we beat one of the best based off the seeding right now. But I enjoyed the heck out of playing Michigan, Purdue, Houston, Arizona. We got our butts beat by the majority of those. I mean, that was just a lot of fun. So even though that may have been the message that was sent, Austin, I think you and I both agree we would prefer that not happen in dumbing down the schedule in any way, right?
Yeah, I would still like to see Auburn go play the best of the best and play some of these teams. I do think they need to be smart in what that means for the tournament, if this is the precedent that's been set.
Sure.
I think you can look at both sides of it, though. I think that a tough schedule prepared Auburn very well last year. You also had a veteran team, a lot of guys who've been together, a lot of guys who played a lot of college basketball together and just previously. Maybe that kind of schedule doesn't help. Now, you can't forecast that out for years and years in advance. You can't know what kind of team you're going to have in 2030 and things do like that. But I think that it's two sides of a coin, right?
Yeah. Well, I for one hope that there's two new teams being added to the schedule immediately, given some of the talking they decided to do, and that would be UMBC and SMU. We even tagged old Mike Burgermaster and said, sign them up. Let's see how big they want to talk next year. The schedule, as you said, the schedules are well underway right now. But listen, whether it was about the quality of wins, strength of schedule, all that stuff, some of it just doesn't make sense. The point is Auburn is playing the best of the best, and I think they're better for it. And I hope they continue to do so in that way. Let's move on. Season is not done, thankfully. Now, I know there's a lot of people, and I'm not referring to anyone specifically, nobody in the live chat, nobody on social media, but I've seen this go out there, that this negative view towards participating in the NIT. Yes, Auburn has its invite to the NIT. They will be a host site as well, there's a lot of perks that come with that, but they will be hosting South Alabama. And I believe we've got everything right, Austin, because we're gathering this in the show as we were doing live. March 17th, which will be Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on ESPN2. Auburn will host South Alabama. If you don't know how the NIT works, the higher seeds there, they get to do host site, play at your actual arena and stuff, and then they'll go. I think it's to they still do New York now. Is that what it is?
I think so.
Where the NIT is played.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
For several rounds, that's going to happen that way. And with Auburn being a rightfully so in the NIT #1 seed, they will be positioned well to host for a little while here. So let me give you a little bit of information. Let's talk about it, Austin, because we still got basketball to be excited about. And I couldn't be more thrilled because I thought we were done. And I never mind. I'm going to hold that prediction for a little bit. I don't want to get out ahead of my skis, so to speak. Auburn versus South Alabama, as we already talked about. They will also be in that group of bracketing with Seattle U, who is a 4-seed host site, St. Thomas. Let's just assume that goes chalk. Auburn would probably be hosting Seattle U if they handle that business. Number 3, George Mason and Liberty in that portion of the bracket as well. Then number 2 seed Nevada and Murray State. Little friendly rivalry that we've had with Murray State's kind of cool there. And I wish that George Mason still had Katie Johnson so we could see him again. That'd be kind of cool. So really, you're looking at Auburn, Seattle U, George Mason, Nevada as the top seeds in that portion of the NIT. What do you think about it, Austin? Like we got to worry about game 1, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people might have been surprised to see Auburn do this. Personally, I think in this era of college athletics, a potential of 3 more home games is quite appealing to Auburn to get some extra revenue concession. And I think that Auburn fans, regardless of how you feel about how the season went or bombed, there's plenty of Auburn fans itching to see a game in Neville Arena again and see this Auburn basketball team. So excited to see it. I think a lot of us who have been watching Auburn basketball for many, many, many years before the recent success would have taken the NIT at any second. I'm not saying that we should be shooting for that. I think the Auburn program is at a point where they should expect to play the NCAA tournament. That floor has been raised. But there are many years where there was absolutely no chance that Auburn was playing in any kind of tournament postseason for a long time. And the NIT was a pipe dream in itself. So I'm excited to see the NIT. I'm excited to see Auburn host NIT games. And I hope that they go a long way. I think it would be, a successful thing to see Auburn go on and win the NIT. I would think it would prove a lot of people wrong. We'll see who, if everyone is available from this Auburn team for the NIT. I think that's certainly something that you have to see, and there'll be people who decide on transferring, people who decide on the pros and things like that. But we'll see what happens in the coming days. But certainly a good opportunity, and it's an exciting thing for Auburn athletics to be able to host postseason tournaments.
Yeah, I'm really, as much as you can be, given the disappointment of not making March Madness, all that kind of stuff, I'm excited about this because there is still value to this. I think those that are saying that there's no value to this whatsoever are 100% wrong, and you're entitled to be wrong. I know that there are conflicts with people worried about, well, will we be able to go to the transfer portal as effectively and stuff like that? They have staffs that can be able to manage this, and some of this roster will be there next year. There is value to this and learning to play together and learning to figure out what wasn't working. And I know that's going to keep people say, well, one of the problems isn't going to be here next year. Well, that's not necessarily true. Let's be more nuanced and less hot takey in our opinions that we form and share online. This is a good thing. This is an absolutely good thing. There may be some negative things about that, about timing. Is this what's right? All that stuff. But obviously Auburn sees the value in it because they have to accept the bid. I don't see Oklahoma on here. Do you? No. I guess they didn't accept it. And we don't know what their circumstances are that. And just in case you were wondering, it's the Auburn Regional, the Tulsa Regional, the Albuquerque Regional for New Mexico, and then Winston-Salem Regional for Wake Forest. I'm not calling for Auburn to win this one right away, but clearly not only are they the number 1 seed, they're the first one listed. So they are the highest perceived team. If I'm looking at everything that's being shared by the NIT right now, based off it, how you list things in a traditional bracket, Auburn is the expected champion of this. Is that too far to say?
No, I mean, I think that's fair. For a long time, it was assumed when teams didn't opt out of things, it was assumed that the first 4 out will be the automatic first 4 seeds, first 4 1 seeds of the NIT. And so I think without seeing Oklahoma there, who was supposedly above Auburn on the first 4 out, that Auburn is the 1 overall seed in the NIT. And I'm not saying you hang a banner for that. I'm not saying anything like that, but I think that's what Auburn's perceived as against a lot of these other teams that were just on the outside looking in. So, and you mentioned the portal and what timing. The portal now opens after the national championship game ends, officially opens, and folks, are upset about saying, go ahead.
Well, I guess we need to talk. I guess you can't go buy seats at the arena and go see somebody play and things like that. Officially opens, I'm sorry that we did something that's allowed. Sorry, you go. I'm derailing us, but go ahead.
This whole notion that Auburn's not they're not gonna be able to focus on the portal like they need to because of the NIT is just, I'm not gonna say malarkey again. We'll say bogus this time, just because the portal's been open since January, folks. Like, have we learned nothing that tampering is a thing? And it's just the portal's been open since January, if not earlier. Auburn's doing fine and figuring out who they're gonna have next year and who they want next year. They'll continue to do it. And for those of you who seem to really love this notion that Stephen Pearl wasn't ready for this opportunity and Stephen Pearl shouldn't have just been handed this opportunity and that he wasn't ready. Should you not want him to coach more games? Should you not want him to get more experience in coaching?
No, because they want to be right about their hot takes and say, look, I was right. That's all. It's all self-serving now.
So I'm good with it. And I know a lot of people just, if we get so worked up about not being in the tournament every year and only derive success based on that, not expectation, but success based on that, I think you've missed the point of what cheering for collegiate sports is about and all, but also just what cheering for Auburn's about. So I'm excited for them. I'm upset. I wish we were in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
It's the best. Okay. Like, it's the best sporting event there is. And Auburn's not in it, but it's the first time in 6 years, folks. Like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And you could just be sitting at home right now and not talking about some more basketball. And I want to be talking about some more basketball. And here's my last point on why this is a good thing. And some of you are going to like this and some of you aren't. It's going to be hard for you to argue against this. You look at a guy like Keyshawn Murphy and tell him that this isn't worth seeing him play again. That dude has put his heart and soul into this team, has become one of the most beloved on that. And to say that there is no value whatsoever for him to be able to run out there in the orange and blue one time is disrespectful to him, frankly. And you know, I know people don't mean it as hardcore as it sounds sometimes when they make statements like, you know, this isn't important or things like that. But you're forgetting elements like that in this. This is what sometimes being a fan is about, you know, swallowing what your expectations and narratives that you bought into and just being happy for the guys that are getting another shot and another opportunity to go out and run in the orange and blue. Because listen, when they ended the SEC tournament, they didn't know. I mean, they hoped that they were going to get another crack at this thing. They didn't know, I'm sure, if they were going to accept the NIT bid. So for all they knew, that was the last run they get, and they get to do it in Neville Arena. And you, the Auburn faithful, have an opportunity. I'm just going to say it plainly at this point, to show up a little bit more than you did this year at times and show we are who we say we are. If it's orange and blue, we show up and show out. Pack out Neville Arena for these things. I don't know what's going to happen. Auburn may fall flat on their face again, but don't worry about that. You handled your part. You have an opportunity to host postseason basketball of some value, whether you agree on the value or not. And it's important for this team. It's important for your Keyshawn Murphys, and it's important for the future of the program, whether you like it or not. There's my
and here's the logistical part here that should make you want to go even more. Tickets are $25 and they're general admission. You get to sit wherever you want for $25 in Neville Arena. For all of you that have been very upset about the prices in recent years, which rightfully so, the market is the market, $25 for wherever you want to sit in Neville Arena. And if you're a student, you get to go for free again to a postseason event. So it's at 9:00 on Tuesday night against an in-state squad. You've heard Kyle and I talk about the importance of playing in-state schools and what it means for them.
Yep.
They will be ready. South Alabama will be ready. It will be a great game. And some updated news here for you, Kyle. Auburn baseball has moved their game up to 4:00 on Tuesday due to cold temperatures.
That's
it was
what
at
you
6. Well, it's for cold temperatures. I think 6. They still.
We're gonna say it was for the game. Austin,
it's now a full. It's now a full afternoon in Auburn, Alabama. Off afternoon to evening. 4:00 for a top 5 game against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who should be in the Southeastern Conference instead of the Missouri Tigers. And then you
brought it all the way back.
and then you get South Alabama at home in the NIT. It should be a great day. It should be a great day for Auburn, and the spring sports continue on.
They do. I'm honestly, the more we've talked about it here and the more I've just sound this information, which is pretty fresh, I'm fired up for this. And I may get burned. Cool. I may get burned real bad. The team may continue their play as it has been throughout since the beginning of February. I don't care. I'm ready to be hurt again. I love Auburn basketball, and I do not want it to end. Give me more of it, and that should be your case if you are an Auburn fan. If you are a true Auburn fan, you don't have to like the fact that we've got on March Madness, that the way we played, but you better show up and show out, or else turn in your orange and blue. I'll be receiving that at my desk. You can drop it off anytime you'd like at this point. All right, I'm done. See, that's like all the energy I had left.
Yeah, that's
this
all you
week
got.
of being sick, and so I probably need to just crank it down.
$25 though, Kyle, for
$25.
General admission.
All right, I'm gonna do this, Austin. I know you hate this part. Everybody does when I put people on the spot. But just last thing, real quick, rapid fire predictions. Does Auburn beat South Alabama?
Yeah, we're winning our region. We're going to the Final Four.
You're saying, and one of our viewers, I'll give credit to WT. I think he clarified it's in Indianapolis this year, which is where
truthfully, I almost said that, but it is.
Isn't that where the tournament, that March Madness tournament, is too? Am I wrong?
I think you're right. I guess you get to play both now.
So we made it.
No. Let's not go there.
All right, your prediction is that we get out of the regional.
Yeah, we're going the Final Four in the NIT. Yeah, I'm saying it.
On the record right now, Austin, does Auburn win the NIT championship?
No. I'll just say no.
How are they in the championship game?
I mean, sure. Yes, sure.
I'm going to say that they're in the championship game. I just did a quick scan of everything here. Oh, they got to get past Dayton, I think, if I'm looking at the bracket correct.
Oh, Dayton's in it. I think too that I just don't know. I'm not privy to any information that anybody will not be available. I just think availability for some other teams I could see being more of a sure thing than Auburn. We'll just have to see how that all plays out.
I'll go with a prediction of Auburn makes it to the championship game and loses in the championship game.
Yeah. I
think that's what we're just like, preparing ourselves for that little bit of failure, at this point. But
yeah, I mean, could you blame us?
Hey, some would say that's the life of being an Auburn fan, but it's much better than that, I promise. All right, let me get us out of here. My voice is already feeling, I can feel it. Thank you guys for, first of all, letting me take the week off last week and get better and get back here for this episode. We'll be back in the swing of things, and hopefully we'll be talking about some more Auburn basketball stuff of positivity nature when we get back together. Thanks for being here for episode 165. If you want to keep up with me, the best way to do that is through the E2C Network official things, such as the email, e2cnetwork@gmail.com. Social media accounts, the DM should be open everywhere. And Austin, where can they find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott on pretty much anything and everything is where you can find me. And hope everybody has a great week. And so another full week on the Auburn athletics standpoint. So we got plenty to talk about next week, my friend.
It's going to be busy. It's going to be fun. It just got busier with the NIT coming to the Plains. Show up and show out, folks. It's your duty as an Auburn fan. As we head out, we remind you the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same thing. War Eagle.
War Eagle.